All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we'll be going through the Law of Success series, and the chapter is on imagination. So that's what we'll be going through. What is it? It's really just the formation of mental images and grouping of materials of knowledge or thought into new, original, rational systems. So it's really just having cool new thoughts or piecing things together in a cool new way or visualizing the things you want. Like anytime we talk about visualization, law of attraction, all that good stuff, it all starts in your imagination. It all starts in your thoughts. And if you think about it, everything is kind of basically your imagination. Like when you're imagining having a good day, when you're imagining having a bad day, when you're imagining what it would be like when you're empathizing with somebody, you're imagining. So that's really what your imagination is. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We don't really need to go deep into that. Napoleon Hill, after he kind of defines imagination, he talks about how important it is, how it's basically in everything. Like when you were thinking about your chief aim, you were using your imagination. When you're getting more self-confident or hurting your self-confidence, you're using your imagination. When you're taking initiative, when you're leading people, you're using your imagination. Because before things come into reality, they have to be thought about first. Like when you think about the computers, the headset, um, everything that exists in the world was thought about before it came into the world, with the exception of the intricacies of human life. Like humans ourselves didn't think about that, but we thought about, hey, in order to bring our little human into the world, we need to do X, Y, and Z, right? Things that we think about, things that we imagine. And once they're in the world, how they live, all that good stuff, man. Everything comes from imagination. Our roads, our cars, our buildings, our infrastructure, social infrastructure, systems, schools, jobs, businesses, everything thought about first. And, after he talks about the importance of how it's basically in every aspect of our life, he goes into telepathy and the law of attraction. And he talks about how hunches, telepathy is like stray thoughts kind of coming into your brain. And so a lot of people, like I know Tony Robbins will talk about, oh, your thoughts aren't your own and your thoughts aren't who you are. You are what thoughts you act on, etc. And so it's pretty common to coin intrusive thoughts. Like we all have intrusive thoughts where like, we didn't think that. Well, what happened? Where did those thoughts come from? And Napoleon Hill is talking about how our brain, this is similar to the law of attraction, it's kind of like a radio, like it can receive a certain frequency of signal and or thought, a certain frequency of thought. And when we're functioning in a frequency and certain thoughts pop into our head, it's because those thoughts were out there floating in the ether, is what Napoleon Hill refers to it in some of his other books, and it entered our head because we were a receiving station for that thought. And the same thing with the law of attraction, like attracts like. So if you have high quality thoughts, you'll attract high quality thoughts, actions, results, feelings, beliefs, etc. And so he goes through imagination of like, it's foundational to everything. It's basically thinking, forming mental images, making sense of the world, and creating new things by pairing things together or something original. And then it talks about how our imaginations interact through telepathy and the law of attraction. The last thing that I thought was really important that he went over was that imagination is the only thing we have complete control over. And so I want you to think about that, because a lot of us like to focus on what we can't control in life, and that will drain you, that'll exhaust you, that'll cause you to be stressed. But when you focus on what you can control, the serenity in your own head, as well as the thoughts that you think, the things that you think of, the problems you try to solve, the questions you ask, etc., you can all control that in your imagination. And when you can control that, you create the reality around you. Because if you think about it, I know a lot of people will always be like, yeah, I'm broke, I can't make money. And then you ask them the question, well, how often do you think about making $1 million in a year? Yep, there was a moment of silence for that because I wanted that to sink in for you too. If you're struggling, how often do you think about actually making $1 million in a year and the process to do it? And imagine how you would do it. Imagine having the $1 million in your bank account. How often do you do it? Probably not often. But I bet you could tell me the exact steps and imagine the exact day of what your day would look like to make 60,000, 50,000, 40,000 a year, 100,000 if that's where you're at, 200,000 if that's where you're at. And so our thoughts, we have to think it before it comes into reality. And so by taking control of our thoughts, by taking control of the space in between our ears, we can really take control of our reality. Because if we can think it, it can happen. Like straight up, that's just what it is. Like, how do you take time to think about the quality of your friends and where to find better quality friends or better quality colleagues or better quality investors if you're a business owner? And how often do you think about how to solve problems? Or do you spend time complaining about the problems? I bet if you complain about the problems, more problems show up because you got more stuff to complain about. But if you think about solving, more solutions pop up. There's a limitless supply of both. And so by taking control of this one thing that we have complete control over, it really gives us control in a lot of our life. And then it makes us see that the things that we don't have control over actually aren't that important. The next part I want to go into is where it shows up in my life. So I would say imagination for me is going outside the fray. Like when I'm imagining and casting the vision for ending poverty and growing this podcast, growing the community around the podcast, which will assist in ending poverty and just financial freedom for myself and my family. When I visualize my dreams and goals and how it's going to happen, that's all me seeing what will happen. And like, okay, I understand more and more about how to get multifamily properties, about how to wholesale land, about how to grow this coaching mastermind, capture and multiply attention, change people's beliefs and actions. Like I know these skills and I'm working on these skills and I'm seeing them in my head. And as I see them, as I can see them more clearly, it really improves like the action I can take, the clarity I can move with, the speed I can move with. And so anything entrepreneurial is really where my imagination pops up, as well as just life in general. Like it really pops up everywhere. My relationship with Gracie, um, my friendships, all of this is like, can I imagine a life where I am happy in these things? If so, how can I move towards it? And when I think about those things, that's when I can take action. So I think a lot, and my imagination is where I solve a lot of problems, come to a lot of decisions. That's where it shows up in my life. Where I want it to show up in my life is just increased clarity, increased ability to imagine, and probably consistent time to visualize and imagine. I talked about kind of missing simple things and how there's this affirmation Napoleon Hill talks about where it's like, get really clear on what you want, when you want it, and how you're going to get it, and then say it multiple times a day. Like, that's it. And you'll be successful. Like straight up. But we don't do those simple things. And so I think consistently imagining, like both saying it and then consistently imagining it happening, your mind doesn't know the difference, is what a lot of people in the success world say. So I want to have my imagination pop up as a consistent discipline of like, yes, I have the affirmation, I have the affirmations of the person I am, and then I have me envisioning and actually seeing it coming to fruition. The time is here and is coming. Wild. Also, just in my goals, like uniting people, building community, ending poverty, and helping people that don't want to be helped is a big one for me. I think when it comes to ending poverty, you're going to have people who simply aren't ready for their poverty to be over. And I'm like, well, I don't want you to keep suffering. I don't want you to keep struggling. And so imagining a way to really impact them and change their hearts and minds in the best way I can, because I can't make the choice for them. But what I can do is create an environment that is conducive to making that choice and make it easier to make the choice than for them to stay how they are, based on controlling their environment, controlling the people they're around. Controlling is a bad word. Influencing, impacting, elevating their environment and the people they're around. Those are better words. Yeah, and how you can apply it to your life. Sit there and simply think for a moment about a problem that is stopping you from your definite chief aim and how you can solve it. Like literally, just write one down and be like, I'm going to think about how to solve this problem. Who would I need to talk to? What would I need to do? What skills would I need to have? Who would I need to be? Ask yourself those 4 questions. I just fired them off. I don't even remember them. What were they? Who would I need to meet? What would I need to do? What skills do I need to learn? And who do I need to be? And then there are some other side questions of like, what's first steps? And what is the first like baby step that I can do right now? And if it's lacking information, the answer is getting information. What habits can I develop, et cetera, et cetera. So sit there and think about a problem that is stopping you from getting to your definite chief aim, and then attack it in your imagination. And then you'll see it being attacked in your reality too. And I think the other way is taking in positive, helpful information consistently. In order to expand our imagination and our ability to visualize and think logically and think rationally, we need to take in information where people have demonstrated imagination to reality, right? And so a lot of success literature is people telling you how to think, how to live, and how this changing your thoughts, changing your questions can change your life. So that's what we got about imagination. Thank you guys for listening. Uh, Hit me up if you're looking to talk more about this. If you want to check out my website, go to my coaching services, refer people to my coaching services. We're trying to build a community of people, both just loosely around the podcast and then a more intimate community where we are holding people accountable to achieving their dreams and goals, inspiring action and accountability and progress, right? That's what we're all about here. So thank you guys for listening. As we always ask, shoot this podcast to 1 to 3 people you know need to hear this message. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes, and we're out.